And right now we're being joined on the phone by Jonah Keri. He is a baseball writer for Grantland.com. He's also a regular on ESPN's Baseball Tonight. Jonah, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Would you do me a favor, though, and take us off speakerphone?
On speakerphone, but maybe this is better.
That is better. Thank you, Jonah.
Okay.
Hey, Jonah, trade deadline is looming. A few teams out there that are contending right now, particularly the Dodgers and the Royals, are having trouble with their starting pitching, a lot of injuries. And there are a lot of big-name starting pitchers being dangled out there, names like Cueto and Cole Hamels and Jeff Samardzija. What do you see happening between now and July 31st, the trade deadline?
Well, the Dodgers are a mortal lock to get a starting pitcher. I mean, Farhan Zaidi, the general manager, has said publicly that they're going after starting pitching, which is very rare to get that kind of candor. But with Brett Anderson getting hurt last night, former Rocky, that only ups the ante. And considering how good they are, how much money they are, how many prospects they have, there's no good reason why they wouldn't go after somebody. And that makes them the front runners for Hamels, too, because Zach Greinke, who's having a marvelous season, can opt out of his contract at the end of the year. So Hamels, who's not in a different way than Cueto or Samardzija or Kazmir, offers team control. He's controllable for 4 more years after this season, so that would seem to be the most likely marriage. But as for all the other guys, it's up in the air. Kazmir's a Houston native. The Astros are known to be interested. That's a possibility. Cueto is obviously a great pitcher, but he pitched on Sunday, and there were concerns about his arm. He had elbow problems in the past, and the buzz that I'm hearing is that it could be a little tricky when it comes to what's going to happen at the deadline, which could raise the value of Samardzija, and even guys like Kyle Loesch and Matt Garza and Mike Leake will also be on the market.
Yeah, that's interesting about Cueto, because I thought that he would be the guy that 5 or 6 teams would really be interested in. But what I still find it funny, despite what they accomplished last year, that the Kansas City Royals will be in the mix for one of those pitchers. It's just so hard, even though what happened last year with what they did picking up
James Shields.
Yeah. But do you see the Royals in the mix for anybody specific?
Yeah, it's certainly possible, and I'm with you, by the way. 29 years they didn't make the playoffs. A low-revenue team that didn't spend money, and what, now we're talking about them with Cole Hamels or David Price? I mean, that's kind of hard to swallow. I think they'll make a move because they have to. As good as their team has been, the starting pitching has not been good. They've got one of the worst rotations in all of baseball. It got so bad, actually, that Jason Vargas, if they found out that he had a torn UCL, he's going to need Tommy John surgery. And Yordano Ventura, who was the number 2 guy in that rotation last year and was the nominal ace this year, who had been sent down to the minors 2 days ago, gets called back up immediately because they need to fill a spot. So it's pretty dire over there. I'm not sure that they break the bank in terms of prospects or money or whatever and get one of the real flashy guys. But could they go out and get a Kyle Loesch or a Matt Garza or something like that? Oh, sure. I think that's going to happen, and it really should happen because if the Royals go into the playoffs with the team that they have, yes, the defense is very good and the bullpen's good and even the offense is better, but they might get smoked with that starting rotation if they go up against a good team, be it whoever, the Yankees or the Angels or what have you.
Jonah, every year at this time, we are talking about the pitchers. We're talking about the pitchers. How about position players? Do you see, I'm trying to look out there, and I looked at the news this morning, that the concentration is on pitchers. What position player, and we have 1 or 2 here, but what position players do you think are going to be on the move?
Well, right, and if Troy Tulowitzki is truly on the market, then he instantly becomes the best guy that's out there, and that sort of has been talked about for a while. Obviously, it was talked about last summer too. Ultimately, nothing happened, and Jeff Bridich has kept his cards very close to the vest. I think that he's one of those guys who likes to evaluate quietly, doesn't go off to the media and say we're going to do this, that, and the other, and just kind of considers. And so if something were to happen, I think it would be a kind of a shocker. We would not know about it in advance. So we'll see. The next tier down, Justin Upton is certainly a possibility. He's a free agent at the end of the season, real good hitter, can help a number of teams. And then you're talking about some other outfielders. They got like Gerardo Parra as a possibility, Martin Prado, if you're looking for an infielder, something like that. But not necessarily the star caliber guys like Price and Hamels, at least assuming if Tulo stays put, then you're probably talking about 1 tier down.
Jonah, are you hearing anything about the Rockies? As Woody said, they do have a number of players who might be attractive. If teams are looking for pitching, Jorge De La Rosa might be available. A Cargo might be available. A John Axford as a closer. What are you hearing? Anything?
Yeah, I think someone like Axford would make the most sense. Like I said, Bridich being so close to the vets, you're not going to get anything out of him and anybody that he works from. Not even force hands through somebody that you saw at biker gyms at 2 a.m. or it's not happening. There's nothing. There's no leaks. You're not going to find out. I think it's going to be one of those that just sort of materializes. But somebody like Axford would make a lot of sense. A real good pitcher, pitching in a tough environment and still getting it done. And, the kind of situation where relief pitchers become easier to trade. Obviously, Axford is not signed to a long-term contract the way that Cargo or Tulo is. So, he becomes somebody that could be a pretty good rental for a contending team. That would make sense. The issue with, especially Cargo, at some extent Tulo too, is they're not at the height of their powers. I mean, we think about these guys as being superstars, but neither of them are as good as they've been in the recent past. I mean, as crazy as it's easy to say it in hindsight, but, in retrospect, the move to trade Tulo was last May, basically, when he was hitting like Babe Ruth. I mean, that's, of course, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that when you're putting butts in the seats and he's so good. But if you really think you're going to trade somebody, at some point, you sell high. You don't sell low. And this is the position that Bradich is in. I know for a fact. I mean, I've had a chance to talk to him during spring training and so forth. He's a value-driven guy. He wants value. And the move to trade these guys now, when they're playing pretty well, but not as well as they can, I don't know if that makes the most sense.
Jonah, you're making such a great observation there that we've always maintained here. Those of us that are not lackeys say that they hang on to their players too long. That Seth Smith, and I just take a guy, that when he was with them during the World Series, they hung on to him a couple of years later, and they couldn't give him away. And the same with so many other players they have that, even though they have players of the value, who really wants De La Rosa for 1 year, or who wants Tulo now that he's turned over 30 and Cargo's struggling to get back to 250?
Well, I think that's a great point, certainly, but the problem is that you're pushing it both sides here. I'm with you. I get it, and I think that makes sense if you want to do that. But just thinking about it from an ownership perspective or even a GM perspective, what they really want to happen is that Cargo and Tulo, do the rest of their contracts in Colorado, and they're surrounded by good pitchers, and they win now. I mean, that's what they want to happen, and that's why we were supposed to get so excited about Butler and Gray and Matzik and so forth. And maybe these guys will pan out. We'll see, but it hasn't happened yet. And so as a result, De La Rosa has been certainly a functional pitcher for a while, but they're going with guys like Kyle Kendrick, and they're just kind of trying to put guys out there, not real impact pitchers, and the run prevention keeps suffering. And I'm a stats guy, so I can adjust for Coors Field. If a guy's hitting 330, it's not really 330 at Coors Field. But even if you adjust, even if you make all the statistical calculations, the pitching still stinks, guys. I mean, it's just not good. And that's kind of been the issue is, yes, of course, they could trade Cargo and Tulo, and trading 4 pitchers would make sense because free agents don't want to come here. At least free agent pitchers do. But on the other hand, it's frustrating because these are your core guys, and you're starting over again, and you're starting over again. So it puts them in a little bit of a bad spot. The easiest thing would be if they're scouting and player development, we're turning out better pitchers than they have so far.
Jonah, we love having you on. We read you at Grantland.com. We watch you on ESPN's Baseball Tonight, and one day we're going to get you in studio, okay?
Oh, anytime. I'm 10 minutes away. Happy to do it.
All right. He's Jonah Keri.
Please
read him.
Yeah.
And all live guests are brought to you by Papa John's, the official sponsor of the Colorado Rockies. The day after every Rockies win, not today, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at papajohns.com. Use the promo code ROXWIN, ROXWIN.